Hello, everybody. Joey Lafrentz here with Backstage Entertainment. I'm sitting here next to Greg Combs. He is the Vice President of Show Design and Production at Walt Disney Imagineering. Your main office is in California, right? Glendale,
California.
Yep. So, like I said to you before, this is a little new for Backstage Entertainment. We haven't really ventured into this realm of interviews yet. We mainly do bands and the occasional comedian here and there, but you came to one of my classes and everything you said was real interesting, so I figured, well, let's do an interview out of it. And
wow.
So
I'm flattered that you'd want to talk to me. I've seen your other interviews. It's great stuff, but I'm neither a goth band nor a comic, so I'm sorry. I don't want to disappoint, but I'll do my best to tell you whatever you want.
Yeah. Well, it is. It's real cool to be able to get to talk to someone like you, being a Disney Imagineer, and a lot of us have heard of a Disney Imagineer, but to be able to speak to one, and especially around here in the Midwest when you got Disney in California and Florida. So
you're doing better than me, because before I joined the company, I didn't even know what an Imagineer was. I had never heard of one. I didn't know that existed as a line of work, and had never been to a Disney theme park. So it was quite a surprise to me. I'm a theater bum by trade. Before I was doing theater work, I was a magician. Started out here in Omaha. I thought I was going to be the next Johnny Carson. I thought I was going to do magic, and somehow that was going to magically lead my way to California, and I was going to break into show business and have my own talk show. And of course, none of that happened. But by doing magic, I learned about performance and theater work, studied acting in order to try to be a better magician, but quickly found out I suck as a magician. I was really awful. So, and realized I still loved the idea of telling stories to people, of performing, of connecting to people in this realm of storytelling. And it could have such an amazing emotional impact. And I still wanted to be part of it. So I was at the Omaha Playhouse, and I thought, well, there's got to be something else I can do. If I can't perform, I can't sing, I can't dance, I can't do any of that. What else could I do? And they pointed me to a guy who was signing up volunteers to run Backstage, run the cruise. His name was Steve. The guy that was doing this at the time, his name was Steve Wilden. Runs a place called Heartland Scenic Studios now today. And Steve said, "Hey, we need follow spot operators. You want to run a follow spot?" I had no idea what a follow spot was. And so I said, "Sure, yeah, I'll run a follow spot." And my first show was Cabaret, the musical. And I ran follow spot, and I was in heaven. I couldn't believe how much fun that was. Mm-hmm. And that started me off on my career. And so to kind of make a long story short, after doing years of being set and line designer, I ended up designing for Walt Disney Imagineering.
Wow.
Now, there's a lot of gaps in between there. I don't know if you know how many of the details you really want to know. It gets, it might be fascinating to me. It may not be fascinating to you. But
well, yeah. A lot of it's pretty interesting. But what did qualify you to really work for Disney, and what got you extremely interested in that? And
well, honestly, I was doing work here in Omaha, and I was happy and thrilled to be doing theater work here. And I was still married to a woman who I met in theater school. She's an actress. And like most actresses or actors, they usually want to make it to the big leagues, and that usually means New York or California. And so she said, we should really move to California. And I got this job opportunity to go work in California, working for a guy who had a children's theater. And I really didn't want to take the job because I was really happy here. But she said, "I want to be in California." And I said, "All right, I kind of like being married, really liked her, didn't want to ruin a good thing." So I said, "Okay, honey, we're going to go to California." I leave her here, and I drive out. I'm going to get settled. I take the job, and we were rehearsing in Los Angeles because the guy who ran the company was also on TV at the time. He was an actor by the name of Tim Busfield, and he was in a show called 30-something. He was also in a movies, the Revenge of the Nerds series, if you ever saw those from the 80s. And so I'm working for him, and I lasted 2 weeks on the job before he fired me. Oh. And all of a sudden I'm fired, and I'm in Los Angeles, and I got no job and no place to live. And my wife is in Omaha, and I'm going, oh crap, what am I going to do? And so I called her up, and I said, "Honey, don't pack your bags yet. I got to find some work." And we made kind of a long trek of it. We ended up actually picking up some work at a theater company on the Central Coast. But again, to make a long story short, we finally made it to LA. She's working fairly regularly at the time, and I wasn't getting much. And I'm looking through the want ads, trying to find there's got to be something I can do to make money, because we were really poor. And there was an ad in the newspaper, and it said set designers wanted. I went, well, I'm a set designer, so I'm going to go interview. But it didn't say who for. And it turned out it was a temp agency who was clearing resumes for Disney, only I didn't know that. So I interview at the temp agency. The temp agency says, okay, yeah, you're good. Go see this guy the next day. And so they gave me the address, and on the address it said Walt Disney Imagineering. And I went, well, wait a minute. I didn't know anything about Imagineering, but I knew Disney made cartoons. And I said, I'm not an animator. I don't draw characters. I'm not a cartoonist. And they said, no, you don't understand. It'll be okay. Just go. So I go and I show up, and I meet this guy. His name was Mitch. He had come from theater, too. And he looks at my resume and portfolio, and he goes, oh, yeah, you'll be fine. You're going to go to this office on Monday, and you're going to start work. So bring all your supplies and be ready to start drawing. And it turned out, at that time, this was 1990, they were in the design phase for building a new theme park in Paris. It was Paris Disneyland. And in those days, everything was drawn by hand, and they were hiring anybody they could find that could hold a pencil. Because Disney, like most of the movie studios, when they need people, they go and they find all the great talent they can find. But in those days, when they didn't need you, they said, okay, bye-bye, go away now, and we'll call you if something else comes up. So they had gone through one of those phases where they didn't need people, and now all of a sudden they had a bunch of work coming in and they needed people quickly. So I got lucky. I was in the right place at the right time.
Hit it at the right time.
Right, which is kind of how entertainment business works everywhere, right? In every scene, whether it's music or television or movies or anything. It's being there right at the time when they need you, and I just got lucky. So they hired me on a 90-day contract, and 90 days came and went, and then they said, okay, well, we got some more work. Here's another 90-day contract, and then another 90-day contract. And 3 years later, after a bunch of 90-day contracts, they said, I guess you're sticking around. So then they hired me full-time.
Well, that's quite the adjustment there for you. What do you do now in your position? If you were to describe your position at Disney as an Imagineer.
Well, they don't let me design anymore. My first 15 years there, I was a set designer and a production designer. And so that was always working on projects. And so I worked on any number of projects, from the Paris Park, which, when I worked on that, I was on their Main Street. Had never seen a Main Street Disneyland before, so I didn't even know what that meant. But I got to work on some really cool projects, like Indiana Jones in Anaheim, like Tower of Terror in Florida, like Test Track in Florida. So those were really cool design projects where I was part of a team of designers. It wasn't just me by myself, but large teams of people that are all coming together and working on a project. So in that way, it's very much like theater. It's a collaborative art form, right? It's not just one person. It's a group of people who come together who make these experiences. But then after years and years of doing that, I had one project that was really quite monumental, and it was a new park in Tokyo called Tokyo DisneySea. And as being a production designer on that park, my family and I, we got to move to Tokyo and live there for 5 years. And so that experience sort of opened my eyes to the world and world culture and different ways of looking at things. And it also put me in a position where I was now starting to run crews of people or groups of people and starting to become more of a manager. And after we lived in Tokyo for a period of time, and I'm kind of truncating a lot of this here to make it easy, they called me up and they said, okay, well, you've been doing all these projects for all these years now. Are you interested in management? And I didn't really know. I have no training in management. I had never even thought of that as a career, but they said, we want to put you in charge of sort of the group of people that we think of as theatrical disciplines, like sets and lights and props and audio and special effects and all that kind of stuff. And I went, yeah, that sounds great. Love these people. They're part of my tribe. I think I understand them, and I want to do what I can to help them. So the way we're structured is there's the people that work on projects, and are what we think of as a short-term focus, but a project can last 3 to 5 years. And then there's the people that do the functional work, which is what I do now. I'm a manager, vice president, and so I'm looking at the long-term business practices of our company. What does it mean to be a Disney park? What does it mean to be a Disney attraction? What are our standards? What is unique about our work as opposed to anybody else? And how do we recruit people? How do we develop talent? How do we get the best and brightest working for us? And then how do we make sure that they know what Disney quality looks like, right?
Sure.
So it's long-term focus, right?
Disney quality is pretty amazing, so.
We think so, and I'm glad you think so, right? Yeah. So that means we're getting through to somebody.
I'd say it looks pretty good.
Yeah, well, that's good to hear. I'm glad you feel that way.
What would you say is, out of everything you've designed for Disney, what would you say is your best or the thing you are most proud of?
Oh, well, that's, I mean, without a doubt, it was the Tokyo DisneySea project I was on. That was 5 years of my life. I was responsible as a production designer, and again, when I talk about these things, these are big teams of people, right? So
sure.
Lots of folks contribute. But my job as production designer was for this land we called Mysterious Island. And it was based on the writings of Jules Verne, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea, Journey to the Center of the Earth, Mysterious Island. So we had a ride that went under the water, and that was 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea. And then we have this ride that goes into a volcano and explores inside a volcano, and that was Journey to the Center of the Earth. And it was a fantastic experience where we recreated this volcano in the middle of Tokyo. And the volcano has rocket burners inside of it, 4 rocket burners that can fire off and create huge fireballs that come out of it. And the ride itself explores all these wondrous caverns inside where these creatures come to life and things are just happening all around you, and you're amazed by this other world that you discover. And then, of course, like in many of our rides, something horrible goes wrong and you end up going off track. And now you're deep inside the volcano and you encounter these fireballs are going off and lava's pouring around you, and you encounter a lava monster. And the lava monster is mad that you're there. You've run over some of her eggs and she thinks you're a threat to her babies. And so she's going to pull you off the track and destroy you. And just before you can do that, the volcano erupts. And we pump a bunch of steam, and there's all the fire effects and everything going on, and we shoot that vehicle out of the volcano, and it feels like you're weightless as you're coming up out of the volcano. And then you plummet back down into this caldera, this ring around the island, and you manage to safely return to where you left and continue about your day in the theme park. But that, by and far, it's a thrilling ride. It was really, really fun to work on it, and it turned out great. I love that ride.
Wow, that sounds amazing.
It was fun.
Wow. So before you started working for Disney, you did not go to a Disney park, but how many times have you been to one now? Can you count?
Oh, I can't. I've lost count. I go every time I can, and my kids love to go. And of course now they're the biggest critics, right? I love seeing things through their eyes and seeing them experience it. But they're always like, Dad, why'd you do that? That wasn't very smart, And so they're always on
things?
Oh, they're on my case about everything. It's great fun though, because I love getting that other perspective. Because sometimes as designers we become so immersed in a product that we can't really see the impact on other people. And so by going with other people, friends, other kids, I get to see the park through their eyes and get to experience it, and that's really incredibly valuable. So we go all the time. It's not that, though we're in Glendale and the park is in Anaheim, it's about a 45-minute drive down the freeway. But right. I travel to all the other parks. So we have parks obviously in Florida, Paris, Tokyo, Hong Kong, and right now we're building a park in Shanghai, which will be our latest park.
Wow. Let's shift a little bit then to what you know about the movie business, of the movie side of Disney, which is a huge adventure in itself for Disney.
Absolutely.
They have a couple new acquirements, including Marvel, Lucasfilm Industry, which has the rights to Star Wars and Indiana Jones. So do you know at all, and what can you tell us about the directions of where they're going with Marvel, for example? We'll start with that.
Well, as you can already see, Marvel's had a tremendous impact on the movie business, and I think they were certainly very interested in the stories that Marvel was telling in their comic books, and those felt like the kinds of stories that would naturally, that Disney felt would be right at home in our company. And so I think you'll just continue to see those movies, whether it's Avengers or whether it's individual characters within the Marvel Universe, exploring those characters deeply, and they're great fun. I mean, I love those movies, and it's exciting for us to have the opportunity now to be part of that group. From a theme park standpoint, we haven't really explored it yet, but it would be great to have that opportunity someday to do that. So,
yeah, that could really be a huge part of one of the theme parks.
I'm sure everybody would love it, right?
Yeah.
There's no doubt. I mean, there's such amazing stories, and a lot of about going to a theme park is about that aspirational experience. You want to do something that you don't get to do in your everyday life, right? You want to have that, whether it's the feeling of flight, right, or being threatened by something that might kill you, or is in some way, just well beyond your normal everyday experience, and then you survive it and everything turns out great. It's about the possibilities of those amazing experiences. Marvel's stories certainly embrace that kind of idea, and you can have those kinds of experiences.
Yeah, I know. I went to the Avengers premiere at midnight, and there was people in the audience. They dressed up as Hulk and
Right.
all the characters, and yelling in the audience. I mean, there's a ton of people out there. There's a huge audience for it.
They fit right with our tribe. We love that. That's terrific.
Yeah. Anything about the Lucasfilm industry as far as Star Wars? I mean, I've heard talk about J.J. Abrams directing, maybe Harrison Ford making a cameo or being
really?
in the movie.
I hadn't heard about Harrison
Really?
Ford. That would be really terrific. That
And
would be
there's
so cool.
2 spin-offs or something of Star Wars they're talking about.
Well, I know they've announced publicly. They've obviously announced J.J. Abrams will be directing the next installment, and I think everybody's very excited about that. I have to admit, I'm a big Trek fan, and so when he directed the Trek reboot, I just thought he did a marvelous job. And
the next one looks amazing,
I'm anxiously
too.
awaiting the second one. Right, I've seen the trailer for it, and it looks so cool. It's kind of dark and edgy, but I kind of like the dark and edgy. Right, that's fun. And so to think of him at the helm of new Star Tours is just really exciting. We've had a great relationship with George Lucas for a long time. We opened the first Star Tours attraction, I think it was 1985. Someone's going to get me on these dates, but I'm pretty sure that's right, 1985. And since that time, the Star Tours attraction in the parks has been hugely popular. We just did a reboot of it last year, and so it's now a 3D experience. And it's an experience that every time you ride it has the potential to be different, because we've developed the technology that when you ride it, you can go through a branch of different storylines, and each storyline is a little different, takes you to a different world, a different experience, and how those stories marry up as you ride the Star Speeder can create a new experience for you. And so that combined with the 3D has just rebooted that popularity all over again, and everybody's very excited about that. So now that we have access to the entire universe of those Star Wars properties, it certainly will open up opportunities for us to look at that and go, what else can we do? It's really exciting.
Yeah.
But I think that opportunity's always kind of been there, because, like I said, we have this great relationship with Lucasfilms anyway, and now with having them and ILM as part of our family, we're excited. It's cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there's a lot of people awaiting a lot.
Yeah, you mentioned
anything.
Marvel, you mentioned Lucas, and let's not forget Pixar, right? Because Pixar is an important part of our family as well, too. And so we always look for these great storytellers, people who are really good at explaining a story, at telling a story, and making you feel like you want to be there. And those are the people that we look to do business with. And as a storyteller myself, I just find that so fun. I'm a kid in a candy store. It's great.
I'm sure a lot of people are when they would go to Disney or see anything like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Well, Greg, I thank you for your time. And once again, I'm sitting here with Greg Combs, a Disney Imagineer. I'm Joey Lafrentz with Backstage Entertainment.
Hey everyone, make sure to like Backstage Entertainment on Facebook to see our photos, to enter yourself into contests for autographed prizes, and other news. Also, make sure to click the subscribe button on YouTube to check out the rest of our videos. And you can find us on Twitter to get updates about what we're doing. For Backstage Entertainment, this is Jeremy Lafrentz.